So here is Tim Pool talking about the Maui wildfires, the horrific Maui wildfires, which are now the most deadly wildfires in a century. And this guy's definitely not a right winger. Not a right winger, he says. Just a fence sitter, somebody who listens to all ideas and comes up with his own conclusions.
We actually talked about Tim on the Left Reckoning Patreon because we went into his Occupy days because he's doing PragerU videos, talk about how he's got his big start at Occupy doing journalism, and you actually go back. There's I believe a Gothamist piece about how he was basically a snitch and recording, say, people taking air out of police tires. And also he said, rather than work within the movement of Occupy, he wanted to be independent of even that. And so that neither side,
not shocking.
And so that he was people couldn't say he was biased toward either side, the occupiers or the Wall Street side. So thank you for that.
So he snitches on the occupiers.
Exactly, and
which makes him neutral.
I think there's some insinuation possibly that he maybe take tips from cops, which I think is something I'm absolutely willing to believe. So I just think that's important context for this guy who's talks about psyops and stuff like that.
Certainly. Here he is. This is his well thought out theory.
Maybe we haven't followed up on the story. Maybe there was an answer as to what this was. They say China's most likely behind the mysterious lights. Chinese pollution monitoring satellite Daki-1 probably.
For a sec? They say, so that's popularmechanics.com. Do we have a sense of what that website is?
I think it's just like a sort of like trade science / product site type of thing. I don't know how reliable it is as a news source, but he's responding to a piece in February about how NASA reported that some mysterious lights were reportedly found in or observed in Hawaii, and that they may have been from a Chinese satellite.
And this is from February?
Yes, this is from February of this year, so 6 months ago.
So naturally, the mysterious light is responsible for the clear
all
climate
this shit
change related fires.
It is basically like a very spooky excuse to write more contracts for military industrial contractors. Oh, we need to be worried about, the balloons, are they aliens? Or maybe it's, we don't know what it is. And it turns out they're Chinese spy balloons. Okay, let's shoot those down.
Yeah, so just to be, Popular Mechanics, their tabs on their website are science, military, stuff like that.
Popular Mechanics does some good work.
But that's fine. Yeah. But I thought that they were making...
to contextualize it.
I thought, based on the framing, it was making a claim about this current moment. But this is just an unrelated story.
To then backfill the things
exactly.
about wildfires.
Okay.
So the title of that piece is China Flash Mysterious Green Lasers on Hawaii, NASA says.
Totally fine.
Over Hawaii, NASA says.
Totally fine when not connected to this story of mass devastation.
Maybe they were delayed lasers, like we talked about, and months later they start a wildfire.
They say China's most likely behind the mysterious lights. Chinese pollution monitoring satellite Daki-1 probably produced the light spotted over Hawaii.
Oh, so it's monitoring pollution?
You can call it whatever you want, but my attitude is, look, we are not on good terms with China right now. I mean, we can pretend, trade's going on, everything's fine. No, come on. They want Taiwan. They're building up their military. There's a chance for escalation, a chance for conflict. They want the South China Sea. And then they've got ships with Russia
Look at all
coming near the illusion.
From China.
It's coming near U.S. territory, going near Hawaii, and then they're pulling off something like this. So, look, how hard is it to start a fire? It's ridiculously easy to start a fire. And they can fire lasers? Okay.
It's a little challenging to get the fire to spread, but there were hurricane level. It said it was like hurricane level winds. Or there's
I don't
heavy high winds.
So they're saying
if they can start 50 fires all at once with a sequence of satellites doing high burst, high energy lasers, then getting fire to spread isn't really the issue because you make the fire instantly in a bunch of different places.
And they can monitor the weather in Hawaii. I mean, you could just Google that. Like what I was reading from the National Guardsman who's making a statement was that, there's low humidity and high wind, so that's perfect conditions for wildfires to spread, which means any arson fires would also spread as quickly. Like China is perfectly.
Okay, so sorry, these fucking morons. The reason they have to talk about this is because they think climate change is a hoax. So it can't just be that conditions lead to this. It has to be there's actually people starting these things, because otherwise, all the stuff we've been doing that's basically propaganda for the fossil fuel industry, we'd be in trouble about that.
It's actually, in my opinion, even more insidious than that, in the fact that they are diverting attention from the real potential. And again, this evidence is still coming in, so I'm not making a conclusive case on this. But the Associated Press, other outlets are showing that the likely cause of this fire are power lines that were downed and not turned off due to high winds, based on malfeasance, potentially, as is being alleged in a class action lawsuit filed by the victims against Hawaiian Electric Company for not shutting off the power lines due to high winds, allowing for the spread of this to continue. So this is what these like right-wing conspiracy theorists do. They divert attention and anger from business, from capitalists, and direct it towards conspiracy, towards Chinese people, towards Jews, towards reptilians, if you're listening to Alex Jones, aka Jews. So like, I mean, they find these in their eyes scary ethnic groups that we're in conflict with, and they blame them instead of greed and corporate interests and capitalism. This is hallmark.
And push it. And this guy who you were on his show, and he was trying to say he was to the left of you on war.
I
You were to the right of me on foreign policy.
Laying the groundwork for war with China.
Yeah, and he just had no opinion on our funding of Israel, right? He covers politics for a living, but he hasn't considered the number one recipient of U.S. foreign aid, Israel.
Very obscure issue.
It's odd.
Spread, which means any arson fires would also spread as quickly. Like China is perfectly able to say, like, this happens to be a dangerous period for fire in Hawaii. Perhaps now, if they were to do something. There was also a Chinese balloon observed above international waters near Hawaii in February 2022.
Whoa, wow. Right.
Yeah. So it does seem like obviously they have a targeted interest in Hawaii. And
remember when Marjorie Taylor Greene argued that there were like space lasers that could start fires?
Maybe she was right.
I think it's really funny because they claimed she said Jewish space lasers when she mentioned like Rothschild's bank was providing funding.
I just got a jump scare. Who was that guy?
Ollie London. He's like a British right-winger guy.
Okay, interesting.
Certain technology or whatever. And I'm like, well, I don't know about any of that. But I can tell you that we have video of lasers being fired from satellites. Their argument came from a pollution monitoring satellite, but lasers did come from this satellite. Now, I don't know the capabilities of this, but I'm not going to believe them, right? I'm not going to believe China's like, we're looking for pollution in Hawaii.
Well, and they said the balloon that went over Montana was like, oh, it was monitoring the weather and it blew off course and we didn't say anything. Like, so the weather, I don't want to be too mean to China now.
But sorry, like, okay, I will just say this. Even if they were spy satellites, I don't give a shit. I think actually, like, I think more, there's a way in which spying actually, like, leads to more peace, like a greater understanding of people. When you see like a whole bunch of spies dying between countries and those things being cut out, it means that there's not a lot of information passing between the countries. Like, And also, I would just say, like, we are not innocent when it comes to flying satellites and glaring down at military installations in other countries. That's actually the entire reason for anything that we do in space.
You know, the death that comes from the sky from aircrafts, it's often the United States. We're actually kind of famous for it. Drone strikes escalated under
the U-2 spy plane
under Obama, more under Trump. Yeah, I mean, the assassination of a U.S. citizen under Obama. Like, this is the stuff that when it comes to militarization and subterfuge and killing people through the air, the United States has that down, and we have hundreds of military bases around the world. China, I'm pretty sure you can count them on two hands what they have. If we're talking about militarization, the United States is leagues ahead of every other country. So, like, the conspiracy about this it's just nonsense, obviously. But, like, you know, he's not making declarative statements on, yes, it was a Chinese heat laser that started this.
Look at this coincidence,
but it's
which
all
is
the
months
focus.
apart. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's to the end again of like the exact opposite thing he's trying to hit you on, which is he's trying to agitate for war. This is what it sounds like to demonize a country.
Yeah. No sound? Okay.
Like,
So the
I don't want to
weather-
be too mean to China right now, but they lie. I mean, they're
moron.
declining to meet with our Secretary of State.
don't
Or
lie, I
there are
guess.
any delegations from Anthony Blinken. So what makes us think that they're feeling like they should give us any honest information, right? I think Ollie's right. There is a general opinion coming from China that America is not in a position of strength. I mean, I remember being on Pop Culture at the
Jesus
end,
Christ.
Pop Culture Crisis, the podcast, at the end of this last year, and we were talking about the fact that China was declining more Western movies. I mean, they are not interested in American culture right now, and in fact, to your point,
Maybe too
they're
woke.
probably trying to insulate themselves from American culture because American culture. Modern American culture is largely about the destruction and the turning within oneself, and there's no patriotism. There's a lack of civic engagement. It makes the country weak,
woman is
and
very
so
dumb.
in turn,
She
it
has
makes
no
their
idea what the fuck
adversaries-
she's talking about. Like, especially like the Blinken stuff. Like, look, it's diplomacy between like great powers, particularly when there's a fucking war that they're like kind of on different sides on, is going to be a little bit tepid. There's going to be a little bit of slights, but actually, like, I mean, this is U.S. and Chinese officials are talking again. Here's why that matters. I mean, that was June 20th. Like, things change, but like her overall like message, which is that like it's just China shutting down. Like, actually, China's pretty active in the world building infrastructure in a lot of different places. Like,
And if they're not interested in what the United States is providing, so that the natural conclusion is that they're going to murder 100 people in Maui through a
Yeah,
space
right.
laser that causes a fire
China-
that
yeah.
that removes. By the way, let's be clear what happened here in Lahaina. What it burned down was former a native Hawaiian structures, history. People that died there were in many cases Native Hawaiians, victims of U.S. empire and imperialism. Like, what is the natural conclusion here?
Yeah.
Because China in her construction is uninterested in U.S. culture. So the point is just like it's time to start war.
The
Because
implicit
if this is
message-
proven, it would be World War III.
yeah, and the implicit message here is the same one that Trump did. But this is why these are just fucking Republicans talking.
Yeah.
Is that the Democrats are owned by China?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's really the implicit message. Because what else? Like fucking America, with our military, we're really going to be attacked by fucking space lasers and just cover it up? Are you kidding me? We're not going to say, oh, thank you for giving us a reason, China. We've been looking for one. Take these missiles. Like
Of
the idea
course.
that we wouldn't respond to Pearl Harbor 2 by China and we would just like say, oh no, man, I got an election. Sorry, I go into Obama when I'm trying to do Biden, but
Yeah.
like,
Hey, man.
like it's just,
We'll
it's
we'll
asinine.
take it lying down, man.
And it's just like Trump. It's like it's why this in so-called anti-imperialism that like Greenwald likes to cheer on the right, but they give it away because they say like, oh, you're too Trump yesterday. Biden is owned by Ukraine and China. Like, it'd be very difficult to make a foreign policy if you were owned by both of those two nations at the same time.
Hey, man, I got a lot going on. But and we don't need to play more of this garbage. But the point really is that
Idiots.
just notice that they are evoking an old conspiracy theory when they mention the Jewish space lasers and then they say, but actually it might be China. This is a Bolshevik, the Jewish Bolshevik conspiracy 2.0, which is the combination of Red Scare politics with anti-Semitism. Except now it's just not the Soviet Union, it's China.
Go ahead, burn up Hawaii. I'm not going to do nothing. I got a re-election. Like, what is Biden? Hunter Biden is in such trouble. I can't respond.
Well, it's
to
because
you setting Hawaii
China
on
owns
fire.
him, right? I mean, that must be it.
And guess what? I told Xi to use the laser in Hawaii.
God, I almost called you my friend Kyle. You might have the best Biden, Bradley, but yeah, it's just like that. This is the update. It really is. It's just xenophobia, anti-Semitism, and then they work backwards from it and divert attention from the real issues in this country
And then call it anti-imperialism somehow.
somehow.